Hi and welcome back to my channel. So a lot of time has passed since I last did this, and I truly don't know what this means. I only know that I wanted to make a video about the books I've read in 2024 before we all leave this year behind. And to all of those who have commented my videos in my absence, thank you so much for visiting my small place on the internet. And I'm sorry because I haven't responded to that many comments, because I felt like I needed a break from internet. So I don't know, this video will be about the books I've read and my experiences with them. Maybe I'll do another video later about other stuff, but we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, since I left YouTube or took a break from YouTube, I guess this video means that I actually took a break, since I'm back again, sort of, but not back again. Anyways, I've read a lot fewer books, and that was I anticipated that to happen. I felt like if I quit YouTube, I quit the rhythm of making videos, reading books, talking about books again. So I was just out of the carousel, out of the thing where I did YouTube and read a lot of books. But I don't think that was unhealthy for me. I have progressed quite a lot on the guitar, let's just put it that way. So I'll do this in no particular order, and I'm sort of trying not to spend too much time filming videos as I've tended to do before, so we'll just jump straight in without any sort of preparation and see how this goes. And I wanted to talk about The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I've read this trilogy. I guess there's more books than just a trilogy, but these books are some of the ones that I remember the most from this year. And to my surprise, it's all based on the characters of the novels. So you have this one, Torturists, that is really funny and sort of the main attraction of this series. It's a pretty straightforward high fantasy kind of book series. But the first book is only like laying the ground rules and introducing the people, things that I usually find to be a bit boring, but since the characters are so funny and lovely, and yeah, it just made the series quite readable and enjoyable. And I read all three in a short period of time, and I did enjoy it. So these were the first books I wanted to talk about in this video. I don't read that much high fantasy, so I do really enjoy when it hits the right spot. I also have continued reading the Rivers of London series by Ben Aronovich, and that's still my go-to easy read, urban fantasy kind of stuff. So that has continued to happen, and I will probably finish that series maybe next year or something. I'm at book number 5 of 9. I hope it's 9, because then I can, I don't hope it's 9. I do enjoy reading them. Anyway, I thought I'd do this without using the internet for once, but I do realize quite quickly that a lot of these book titles, aren't directly translated to English, or at least that is my suspicion. So I was going to talk about a Norwegian book called Bikubesong by Frode Grytten. And let me just look at Goodreads. What is it called in English? If it's translated. It has been translated to a bunch of languages, but not to English. So Bikubesong means like Song of the Beehive. And it's a novel that isn't very pretty to look at. It's a novel about this one small place in Norway, this one house with a lot of tenants and their stories. And it's just really fun. A lot of the people are weird, and I do like to read about weird people. So that was probably my favorite Norwegian novel of this year. While we're on the topic of weird, I thought I'd speak a little bit about the Twins Diaries, as it's called in Norwegian, by Ágota Kristóf. I think it's called a notebook. It's set during the Second World War in Eastern Europe, and we meet two twins that are psychopaths. And I just feel like that was one of maybe the most disturbing read that I read this year. They're crazy, and they do a lot of stuff that children don't usually do too. They force people to do stuff for them, for example. And it's pretty messed up and really readable. It's a quick read and an engaging one. I think it was really popular last year on BookTube, and that's why I picked it up. And I do not regret that for a second, but I don't think I will read it again. But it was interesting, to say the least. Then for my favorite author, probably Haruki Murakami and the Wind-Up Burnt Chronicles. So I read this whilst on vacation in Belgium on my annual trip to a rock festival, and that always plays a part. It's like drinking wine while you're on vacation and then looking up the wine when you come back home. It's not the same. It's never the same. This might be the same. I don't know. It's a pretty substantial book, so if I'll read it again, I don't know, but probably will because it's engaging. I'm not planning on trying to explain what this is about because that's too complicated for me. But yet again, I do like Murakami's stuff. I also read his new book and I made a book review about it. So, can't remember the name of that book. I'll try to link it in this video. But anyway, I do like all the things that he does, and these last months I've tried not to read Murakami because I want to save the books, but I should probably read more of his books. One author that I haven't read this year that I absolutely also should have read this year is Fredrik Backman, also one of my favorite authors. I read the first book in the Beartown trilogy, and that was my favorite book last year, so I should have picked that up this year as well, or read the second novel in that series, but I haven't found it anywhere for cheap, so Yet another year has passed and I haven't visited a library on behalf of myself, only behalf of my kids. Then I thought I'd speak about The Wednesday Club by Kjell Westö. This won the Nordic Council Literature Prize in 2014. That's why I decided to read it. It's about Finland and the time before the Second World War. It has one plot twist that really, really got to me, and it's just an interesting read about this club that gets together to discuss geopolitical stuff and the things going on in Finland before the war breaks out. And it's a different perspective since Finland is a lot closer to the Soviet Union than Norway is. So from my point of view, it was a breath of fresh air, you might say. And I remember I enjoyed it. That's all I have to say. I don't know if it's a wise decision or not, but I'm trying not to revisit the books before I talk about them now, so the things that has stuck with me for this period of time is the things that are worth mentioning. I don't know if this is a good strategy, but it's the strategy that I have chosen. A book that I haven't talked about on this channel yet is this one. In Norwegian it translates to something like "Together one is less alone." And I know that the German title or translation is the same, but in English it's called something like Hunting and Gathering. It's by the French author Anna Gavalda. I started reading this because I was going to France for a vacation, and I thought, why not read something French? And I do not regret that. I truly love this book. I was tipped by my mother about this book, and I get how women in their 50s, 60s, to generalize a bit, might enjoy this more than the rest of the population. It has that vibe. And I'm not prepared to discuss this. I'll leave that there. So if you're a woman in your 50s or 60s and you want to read this book, I do recommend it. I recommend it for all people, but especially you. It's about 4 people, and they meet by random, and they're not alike at all. And there's a lot of conflict, a lot of yelling, a lot of fighting, but they do all like each other in some way. And it's really, really charming and a bit unexpected. I did not see like all the plot twists and turns in this novel I couldn't predict, except a few. So it's a bit cliché as well. But they're in France, they talk about food, love, relationships, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a recommendation and a really popular book, so it's not like it's a hidden gem. It has sold a lot of copies. I also read The Hunchback of Notre Dame because I thought I'd go to Paris. And what I didn't know, so I brought my Kindle and thought, well, reading stuff on the Kindle is a good thing. But the thing about reading on a Kindle is that it's never like you know what edition you have, or sometimes you know, but this was sort of a special edition with hidden chapters or chapters that had been discarded earlier. So I got to read a lot about Victor Hugo's views on architecture and how he felt like the printing press was the root of all evil for architecture and things that are aesthetically pleasing. I also started reading Michel Houellebecq again. I read one of his books earlier, and I must say I do enjoy his writing because you never know what you're going to get, and sometimes you or I at least laughed out loud because I felt like he was using such a vulgar language that it's just weird reading stuff that you don't feel you yourself can say out loud, even if there's no one listening. If you read Houellebecq, you might get what I mean. It's not like he's a very poetic human being at all times, but sometimes he also is exactly that. I thought I'd go through my Goodreads to see if there's some books that I have missed. I did read David Grohl's Storyteller, and I did enjoy it, but I enjoyed it just because I like music memoirs. At times he was too much Dave Grohl. For all of you that know who he is, that I feel like that should say it all. Then I read A Moveable Feast by Ernest Hemingway, because that is set in Paris as well. And I really, looking back at it, I really went for the read the stuff of the place you're visiting. Did also read Annie Ernaux, I'm Still Here in the Darkness. It's the direct translation at least. Don't know if that makes sense. But I enjoyed Annie Ernaux. I enjoy Annie Ernaux's books because they're all so short. And I feel like all of them are quite condensed, so there's nothing extra to them, and I really enjoy that. Also started this year by reading Be My Baby by Ronnie Spector, also a music memoir that I thoroughly enjoyed. I think I enjoyed that even more because it's Ronnie Spector has had a tough life, and it's sort of a survival story. In a different way than David Grohl's memoir. But have I only read 2 music memoirs this year? Maybe that's why I stopped reading that much. Who knows? In total I read 50 books. I should be quite happy with that, I think. And if I read 50 books next year, I'll certainly be happy with that. Looking back at the list of books I've read this year, it feels like such a long time since I read the first ones. It's like the year moves quickly, but then again really, really slowly. And so it's business as usual. But I'm glad I made this video about these books. Now I can get this off my chest. Knowing that you know what I feel about some of the books I read this year is really important. But I would really like to know what you've read this year. So if you feel like it, comment below the books that you like the most and I'll check them out, because I do need some new input. That's one of the things that's disappearing from the internet for a while. So, I do hope that you have a wonderful Christmas. I do hope that 2024 has been a good year for you, and that 2025 will be an even better year. Thank you so much for sticking with this channel even though I haven't posted in a while, and hopefully we'll see each other again soon. Bye.